Gray by Kat Webling. Read for you by the author. She doesn't know how she died. All she knows is that one day she woke up and she was staring at the wide-open blue sky. She had sat up, looked around for a long while, and then stood slowly and wandered off. It had been a beautiful day. The sun had been bright, and the sea, or the bit of it she could see from the pebbled beach on which she'd awoken, was calm and gray, washing against the rocks at her feet, which had also been gray. The rocks, she meant, not her feet. Although her feet were also gray. Not that that matters. Not a lot does these days. She supposes that a lot of things are gray now, as she wanders down a lonely street, peering around. The broken shop windows, the tipped-over cafe tables, the scraps of fabric and paper and other trash blowing along the cobblestones, even the cobblestones themselves. All of it is gray. She, too, is gray, she notes, as she looks into one of the rare intact windows that might once have looked into a clothing store. Gray hair, gray skin, gray eyes, gray clothes. Gray movements, she thinks with a half-hearted attempt at humor. Gray jokes. She doesn't remember who she was before she died. Judging by the blank face staring back at her, reflected over clothes that had long since become only muted versions of their once bright, tacky selves, she guessed that she might have been a shop girl herself. Perhaps she'd worked here. Perhaps this was her uniform. Crisp white button-up, freshly laundered and tucked into a black A-line skirt, and a white apron tied neatly over it. Perhaps she had served customers with a smile. She tried for one now. She stopped. That was disturbing even to her. Not that there was anyone to disturb anymore. Yes, she thinks, she's quite alone. She hasn't seen a living person since she'd woken up. She hasn't even seen any living animals. She hasn't seen a dead thing in a very long time either, not counting herself. The one dead person she'd seen could almost have been sleeping, if he hadn't been as thin as a rail, barely more than skin stretched over brittle bones, splayed out on the beach where she'd woken up. He had been warm to the touch, and squishy. She'd regretted touching him. She supposes she must have looked like she'd been sleeping. Even more than he had. She hadn't woken as thin as a rail. She'd been totally healthy. Well, except for the whole being dead thing. So she had come to the conclusion that she is alone, at least in this part of the world. There was something comforting in that, because in the very vague and general memories she has of society, dead things that moved are not treated very well. They're often shot in the face. That might be mildly entertaining, she thinks, but the blood in her eyes would probably block her vision, and that wouldn't be good. Yes, it is better that she is alone. The world is very quiet when you're alone, she decides. She has vague impressions of sounds she used to know. Strains of old songs drift through her mind sometimes, and she'll sway in place to them. The sounds of people laughing and chattering are imprinted in the back of her head, though she doesn't know who's speaking or who's laughing. It would be annoying if she could muster up the energy to care. A sound that is very much not in her memory distracts her, and she drops out of her musings to look away from the window and down the street. It seems like forever before it registers in her mind that she's surprised by what she sees. A man is staring at her, standing, frozen. He is colorful. His hair is a fiery red-orange, curving into a beard on his chin, which is hanging low, as his almost peach-colored lips are open in an O of shock. His brilliant cobalt eyes are so wide that she can see the color from this distance. His shirt is vibrantly yellow, slightly stained in places, and his jeans are a dark gray. His gun, slung across his back, is brown and silver, and the one on his hip is black. He seems to be considering reaching for one of them. She thinks she might as well be polite, as he is the most interesting thing she's seen in a very long time. She waves. His eyes seem to get even bigger. The O of his mouth quirks into an open smile, and then into a closed one. He waves back. She nods, happy enough to have the gesture returned, and happy enough to have seen this much color in one day. She cannot seem to move, and instead decides to just look at him, fascinated by his brightness. Hello? His voice is loud in the silence. It's commanding and strong, and, she is pleased to know she can still detect, slightly nervous. She blinks, unsure how to respond as he takes a few slow steps toward her, hand still hovering as if it's about to reach for one of his weapons. Can you understand me? She nods. His smile gets even wider. Cool. He tilts his head, and she does the same. He laughs. The sound makes her happy. Laughter is much brighter in person. Can you talk? She hasn't tried. She shrugs to communicate this. Apparently not. He laughs again. Good. She likes his laugh. Well, I was gonna ask if you had a name. You can just nod or something, I guess? She shakes her head. She had a name once, but she doesn't know what it was. He nods as if he expected this, and, much to her surprise, again, holds out his hand to her. I'm Michael. She stares at the hand, confused. You're supposed to shake it? Ah, that makes sense. She shakes his hand. He surprises her a third time by not flinching away from her cold, stiff skin. As she drops his hand, she decides to try something. The sound is barely more than a hum in the back of her throat, but she's pleased with it. It's the first sound she's ever made. Michael looks thrilled. Are you trying to say something? She nods. My name? Another nod. Awesome! He's grinning widely. She's not sure why, but she gets the feeling that Michael would have been a very weird person to know back when the world was still functioning. He adjusts the gun on his shoulder and studies her for a second. Why were you trying to say my name? Shrug. He tries another tactic. Is that the first time you've tried to talk? Nod. He laughs again. I'm flattered. He considers her again for a moment. You know, I've never met one of you who could talk to me in a fashion. Hell, I've never had one of you wave at me. You're not like the rest of them. There are others. Her confusion must show on her face because he laughs. Michael laughs a lot, she thinks, still confused. You know what? Why don't you stick with me? How does that sound? She nods. She has nothing better to do, after all. Promise you're not going to eat me? Why would she do a silly thing like that? She doesn't feel the need to eat anything, let alone Michael. She nods. Good. Cool. He nods in return, then starts to walk. She joins him. After a few moments, he says, I guess I need to think of something to call you if you're going to travel with me. In case I need to get your attention. It's better than just yelling, hey you, isn't it? She tilts her head. So, what kind of name would you pick? She considers this for a moment, then shrugs again. They lapse into silence for a little while. Eventually, Michael grins again. What if I just call you M? Seeing as that's all you're able to say. M. She considers the name, rolling it around in her head. Yes, she thinks, M will work. There's something oddly nice about having a name again. M. She nods. This seems to please him. It's really nice to meet you, M. Nice to have some company. M wishes she could tell him that it's nice to meet him too. It's nice to have a little color in the gray. Perhaps someday she will.